In this video, we're going to be looking at converting fractions into decimals and vice versa. So to start off with, let's take the fraction of 1/5 and analyze this. When you see any number written over another number, it's the exact same thing as saying this number on top, the numerator, divided by the one on bottom, the denominator. So really what they're saying here is 1 divided by 5. So if you want to convert that into a decimal, that's actually how you'd go about doing it. You would put it as the numerator divided by the denominator of 5. And so you might be a little confused how you would do that since 1 is smaller than 5, but that's why it becomes a decimal. So this 1 is the same as 1.000 and so on forever. So this is how we would do it. So we're going to go, will 5 go into 1? No, it won't. However, it does go into 10, and it goes into 10 twice. So we put a 2 up there, and then 2 times 5 gives 10. 10 minus 10 equals 0, so we're done. Oh, I'm sorry. Bring your decimal up. So it's 0.2 as your answer. So 1/5 equals 0.2. So that's how you convert fractions into decimals. So now let's take another example of 1/3. Hopefully my pen won't die on me here. So again, we're going to go our numerator divided by our denominator. So 1 divided by 3. So let's just add some zeros here behind our decimal and bring our decimal up. So 3 isn't going to go into 1, but it does go into 10 3 times, because 3 times 3 gives 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. Bring down another 0, and we have a 10 again. 3 goes into 10 3 times. And if you haven't noticed, there's a pattern developing here, because 3 times 3 gives 9. This is going to give us 1. And we'll bring down another 0, and again we're going to get 3. So this is going to go on forever, because this is an infinite sequence here. So 1/3 is equal to 0.333 forever, or this can be written as 0.3 repeating. So now let's take another one of 8/15. And once again, whoops, we're going to go numerator divided by denominator. So 15 goes into 80 5 times. And 5 times 15 is 75. So we bring down our 5, bring down a 0, and 5 times 2 is 30, so 45. So this is going to go into this 3 times. 3 times 15 is 45. Bring down our 5. And once again, we're going to end up with a pattern here. And you want to make sure you bring up your decimal there, which I obviously have been forgetting. And so this is just going to keep kicking out 50 and 3 up here. So this is the same as 0.533 forever. So it's 0.533, however many places you want to go out with your decimal. And they'll probably specify in the problem, round to the nearest 10th or 100th or so on. This one here is to the nearest 1000th. So that's equal to 8/15. Now let's take one more of an example of an improper fraction. So now we have to convert 9/2 into a decimal, only now our numerator is bigger than the denominator. So this is going to be the exact same thing. I wouldn't even worry about this difference here. Just take your numerator of 9 divided by your denominator of 2. So 9 divided by 2. So how many times will 2 go into 9? It's going to go in 4 times, because 4 times 2 gives 8. And we'll bring down the 1 and a 0. And then we'll move our decimal up here. And 2 goes into 10 5 times. So we'll write our 5 here. 5 times 2 is 10. And we're done. So 9/2 is the equivalent, of 4.5. So that's how you convert fractions into decimals. So now let's look at it from the other spectrum here, end of the spectrum, and convert decimals into fractions. So this way, I believe, is actually significantly easier, and I'll show you why. Because I'll start off with a decimal of 0.1. Now, if you know how to properly say a decimal, then this should be relatively simple for you, because technically it's not exactly proper to read this decimal here as 0.1. It's actually supposed to be read as 1/10. However, nobody does that, but that's how it's supposed to be done, because this one here is in the 10th decimal place. So 1/10, you may be thinking that sounds exactly like a fraction, because it is a fraction. So this is equivalent to 1/10, or 1/10. And hopefully you're familiar with your decimal places and what they're called. So, like, for example, let's take 0.375, or technically 375 thousandths, because this 3 is the 10th place, and this 7th is the 100th place, and this 5 is in the 1000th place. And it just goes on and on like that forever, because the 0 here is in the 10,000th, and then this one is the 100,000th, and so on. But we don't need to worry about these zeros because they're zeros. So let's convert this 0.375, since we have it here, into a fraction. So this is the same as 375 thousandths, because it's in the 1000th decimal place. So now we just have to simplify this fraction, and so I'm just going to divide by 25 on top, which will give us 15 over 40, which is also more simplified, equal to 3 over 8. So 0.375 as a fraction is 3/8. So now let's go with another example of, let's make it a whole number here, or bigger than 1 anyways, 1.125. So now it's not just numbers behind the decimal, we actually have a whole number here. And it's not going to be much more difficult at all. All we have to do is basically ignore this whole number here, just write it down, and then set this as a fraction, which is 125 thousandths. Because technically, this isn't read as 1.125. In theory, it's more proper to write it as, or to read it as 1 and 125 thousandths, which is exactly what it is as a fraction. So now we just simplify this fraction, or this mixed number rather, which is 1 and 5/40ths, which is 1 and 1/8. So, let's see, I'll give you one more example, just something more just to seal the deal here. 0.575. Now this is going to be equal to 575 over 1,000. And now all we have to do is simplify it. So 575 divided by 25 is going to be 23 over 40. And that's going to be as far as we can go with that one. So that's how you convert fractions into decimals and decimals into fractions. So best of luck.